What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Spanko, and the purpose of today's video is pretty much to talk about the upcoming ban list. And it's actually not the entire ban list, it's just more to talk about this deck that could potentially get hit on the ban list. One of those decks that not a lot of people talk about too much, but there's a lot of things that could get hit on this list, and this deck always appears in and out of metas. As you guys can see right here, the deck profile that I have in front of you is Team Sam's profile, who just came first place at the remote duels. If you guys haven't watched this video, he said that this deck just wrecks a bunch of the meta decks. And so we know Dino has come in and out of the meta in many different formats. Now this is the most recent one to top, but of course there's this build that focuses on making the Samorg with the wind barrier statue lock. Then there's also Trap Dino, which I have over here. There's Trap Dino variants. There's so many variants of this deck. There's also the True King Dino variant right over here, and there's also even that combo variant that can make like needle fiber with, you know, all the Jet Synchron package and whatnot. So those are pretty much all the different variants. Like every single format, a new variant seems to show up, and this is a variant that just topped recently. And now we have seen Dino on the list before in the form of Miscellaneousaurus, and we're going to talk about that in today's video. But if you guys haven't already liked this video, make sure to like this video. And again, guys, I'm in the process of moving. I'm going to medical school, so sorry if I don't have a face cam. I'm going to put a face thingy on the side for you guys to see over there. But pretty much, like, I just really want to get the videos out for you guys, so I'm sorry if it's not up to my regular standard of quality, but I just really want to get these videos out for you guys. I'm not trying to be lazy here. It's actually just the opposite. Because I'm moving, it's hard to set up my whole, like, you know, face cam and everything right now, so I'm doing this as much as I can for you guys. But today's video, like I said, is talking about Dino. Now Dino is one of those decks that's very odd, because when you hit it, the thing is, if they nerf this deck in terms of like hitting Miscellaneousaurus back to 1 like it used to be, or hitting OV to 1, the issue is nerfing this deck like that is gonna like severely impact this deck. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the combos in Dino have notoriously always been 2-card combos, whether you open OV plus Lost World or you open Miscellaneousaurus plus a baby. Like there's different combos that you need, but you need the 2-card combos, so you have to open specific 2-card combos. And that's why this deck has always been like a tier 1.5, I would say. Better than tier 2 decks for sure, but obviously never been the best deck in the format. Even at its prime, Dino was never at its best, because you had Zodiac in a format for a long time when Dino was really good. Then Miscellaneousaurus went to 1, and then Dino was kind of forgotten. Then we got it back to 3. Dino was like, okay, cool. Then we just got the Archosaur right over here, which actually gave a boost to the deck, of course. And so this deck has been in and out of the format for pretty much since its release. So this deck obviously has a lot of things that could be done to it. And if you guys think that this deck should get hit, or you think that it shouldn't get hit, let me know in the comment section down below. But I'll talk about reasons why it could get hit and reasons why it can't get hit. Now, we've known Konami for hitting decks that have never always been the best deck, but just a tier 2 deck, because they're afraid that if they hit the meta decks, the tier 2 or the decks that are right under it will become too broken. A perfect example is like Altergeist. We saw Multifaker go to 1 on a ban list where everyone was questioning why the heck did Multifaker go to 1. Totally awesome. And ABC are 2 other cards that went to 1, because when Master Rule 5 was announced, Konami was thinking after that entire ban list, like ABC could be really good, Paleo could be really good with Toad again, so they hit Toad to 1. So it was a lot of preemptive hits. And so this is why I'm saying that I think they might do the same thing to Dino. And in this case of Dino, there's only 2 things I see them hitting: the Oviraptor and the Miscellaneousaurus. Now the other thing they could hit, and shout out to my friend Alpha who talks about this a lot, but they could hit Fossil Dig, because obviously Fossil Dig is not a once per turn rotor for the deck. And if they hit Fossil Dig to 1, I think that could be really harmful for the deck. Actually, to be honest with you, if they hit Missile or Fossil Dig to 1, it could be really harmful. If they hit OV to 1, it's actually not that bad, because what you could do is you can up the counts of Arco, because standard Arco is at 2 in most decks, right? But you could up it to 3 and then up the count of baby Cerasauruses. So this way, at least Arco becomes a good normal summon for you. At least if you open Arco plus a baby, you're in a decent spot as well. So that's why I don't think Oviraptor to 1 is actually the worst for the deck. But definitely hitting Miscellaneousaurus to 1 or hitting Fossil Dig to 1 is going to be a huge downfall for the deck, to be honest with you, because these are the consistency pieces. And like hitting a deck's consistency in a deck that's already, to be honest, not that consistent outside of these 2 cards, like it'd be very detrimental for the deck. So the thing is, like I said earlier, there's 2 ways they could go about this. They could hit the Miscellaneousaurus and or Fossil Dig, and or they could hit the Oviraptor. Those are the only 2 ways that I think they're going to do. They're not going to hit Pill or Arco. Arco just came out. They're not going to hit like Giant Rex or Conductor. Like there's no reason to hit these cards, right? So again, there's only 3 cards really that they could hit: Missile, Fossil Dig, and Oviraptor. And so here are some reasons why they could hit it, but some reasons why they might not hit it. So again, one of the main reasons they might hit it is because if they hit the other decks such as like Eldritch or Adamancipator, then like Dino could be one of the best decks in the format, and they might not want to do that because obviously Konami is a business and Konami wants to sell new product. So why would they want to make a deck from 2-3 years ago that hasn't really gotten new support? I mean, of course they got Archosaurus, but Echo's already gone now, right? Like obviously Echo's still around, but I mean by gone is I mean that like they've gone up with new product already, right? So the thing is they could technically hit Arco if they really wanted to. Now, I don't think they're going to hit like Arco, of course, but I'm just saying that Echo's already like came and gone. So in reality, like this isn't new support anymore. The thing is, if they wanted to sell some of the newer cards or some of their newer booster sets, why would they make a deck like Dino, especially if those new booster sets don't have Dino support? Why would they want to make a deck like Dino like the best deck? So Miscellaneousaurus coming back to 3 was a perfect example, because right after Miscellaneousaurus came back to 3 in the TCG, we got the announcement of Archosaur. So this is why it's kind of like, hey, like everything just kind of falls into place. And hitting Dino right now would make sense for Dino only because that if they hit the other decks and they nerf the other decks pretty well, then what happens is Dino can make its way to the best deck of the format, and Konami might not want that because they want you to buy the newest, latest product. Now, something like Dogmatika, I don't think has any shot of pretty much being hit because that just came out and there's no way of it getting hit. Eldritch is probably up there. Adamancipator is probably going to be up there. Block Dragon is probably where they're going to be hitting it. But so pretty much it comes down to the same point. They might not want Dino to be that meta deck, that best deck. Now, what will happen if Miscellaneous goes to 1? Now, if Miscellaneous goes to 1, they're going to take away, or pretty much take away, that combo where Miscellaneousaurus is kind of like a 1-card combo, or Miscellaneous plus Baby, I should say, is a 2-card combo. You could open either Baby and still have the full combo, because like once you put this to 1, of course you have Fossil Dig to search it out still, but the thing is like that's a lot of consistency out of the deck. And obviously a deck like this, which already struggles with consistency, like a deck like this that needs to play Extrav, like you know, and you can tell just like that, like how inconsistent this deck is, because you need the Extrav to be playing this deck like consistently, because you need a lot of the 2-card combos, right? Like I said at the beginning of the video. So that's why like you can even tell like a deck that needs to play Extrav, especially a deck like Dino that needs to make like its extra deck available to be able to play Extrav, you know that there's a problem like in terms of consistency with the deck. So of course hitting Miscellaneousaurus, one of their main consistent cards, is gonna like heavily nerf this deck. It's going to make it so that you don't have that 2-card combo really accessible anymore. It's going to make it so that you really need to get to Oviraptor, but if you don't open Oviraptor, like what are you really going to do? Of course, it could be like, hey, I'm going to up Archosaur to 3 and then try to make sure Archosaur goes off with a Baby. But again, the problem with that is now you really rely on opening the Archosaur and normal summoning it, plus it not getting hand trapped. But on top of that, like Pill is a brick in your deck, to be honest with you. Like more than 2, you're not going to play 3 Pill, right? So what happens in turn 2 when you open like another Archosaur, like you open double Archosaur? Like that's when it becomes dead, because you need a Pill in deck for it to be live, whereas Miscellaneousaurus is kind of like just always live. So that's why hitting something like Missile, you can't really replace it with an Arco. Now that brings me to my other point, where if you hit something like Oviraptor, you can kind of more or less replace it with the Arco, because it is the same thing as it's a normal summon, right? So instead of playing 5 normal summons with like 2 Arco, 3 Ovi, if Ovi goes to 1, let's say, then you just play 4 normal summons with 1 Ovi and 3 Arco, and I still think that's perfectly fine. And the reason I say that's perfectly fine is because even though, yes, like I said earlier, with the Pill, you don't want to really play 3 Arco, because in the late game, obviously it's not as good at Oviraptor, but like at least you still have the Miscellaneous to summon the Oviraptor out of your deck. At least with the Arco, if you open a Baby with it, then you're going to get the Ovi out of the deck. So it's still like, even as a 1-of, you're going to be able to get it out of the deck through your combo, whereas with Miscellaneousaurus, now the only way to really go about getting it is normal summoning your Ovi and searching it. Now obviously you could also like argue that you could normal summon this, pop a Baby in your hand, and then summon this off of Baby, but how much value is that really getting? Because then this needs to go to the graveyard. Then on top of it going to the graveyard, you need materials like other Dino monsters in the graveyard for it to use its second effect so that you can get to Ovi, right? So this is obviously a lot better at 1 in terms of like, if this goes to 1, what's good for the deck. This is obviously going to 1 is a lot better than this going to 1 in so many ways. And then just Fossil Dig is like pretty much just a consistency card, right? So as soon as they take away Fossil Dig, like you're just really hoping that you can draw into your normal summons. And a deck that has no search power, especially like in a format like today's format, where every card really searches another card. The reason like a lot of decks are playing more than 40 now, and just having 40 cards flat is not even the best way to play a lot of decks anymore, is because every card tutors out another card. In this deck, like other than Ovi, and then obviously baby when it's popped. So again, you need to open Arco plus baby for that to happen. You don't really have a lot of way of tutoring cards out of your deck. Now Fossil Dig does that for you. It does a lot of things for you. One, it gets card out of your deck into your hand, so it searches. It's the only card really in the deck outside of Ovi that does that. But two, on top of that, like, a lot of the time it's just like ash bait, right? If you open Fossil Dig Ovi, you just activate the Fossil Dig, and you're going to want them to pretty much ash it, because then your OV, you know, is going to be safe in a lot of ways. Obviously, they could have imperm, effect failure, etc., etc. But I just mean, like, in a lot of ways, it's hand trap bait, right? Because if you open this with any other Dino, you're still in a really good position. All in all, like, what I really wanted to say with Dino is I think it's a really good deck. I've loved this deck forever. I've played every single variation of this deck, and you guys have seen, like, if you guys have gone through my channel and seen my videos, you guys see a ton of Dino videos, a ton of Dino combo videos, a ton of Dino deck profiles. And the reason I do that is because I actually really love this deck. And so I would hate for Konami to put Miscellaneousaurus to 1. This video wasn't to say, like, what is Konami going to do. This video was more about talking about what Konami could do, and just like what Konami thinks of this deck in general. And it all depends on what Konami thinks they're going to do with the ban list in terms of the other decks. And that's really what comes down to, because again, if they hit a bunch of other decks and they just make, you know, Dino in a lot of ways overpowered because everything has just been like nerfed, then Dino could take over, and they might not want something like Dino to take over, right? So let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think? Do you think they're going to hit Dino? Do you think they're not going to hit Dino? I personally think that Dino is going to live through this ban list unscathed. They're not going to get hit. Nothing's going to get touched in Dino. But if you guys think the opposite, if you guys think something like Miscellaneousaurus is like just really good, and don't get me wrong, I think Miscellaneousaurus is a broken card, but the deck itself is not consistent enough to make Miscellaneousaurus like a meta changing card. Now think about it in a lot of ways. Dryden was insane in its format, right? And the Dear Servant right now, just on its own, is a plus, huge plus for the deck. You can open 4 hand traps in the Dear Servant and something like Dogmatika and have a good play just because you have the Dear Servant. So the thing is, like, Miscellaneousaurus doesn't do what other broken cards do for other decks, because other decks can run off of 1-card engines, whereas Dino has never been able to run off a 1-card engine. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. If you disagree, like, obviously let me know. I want to hear this. I want to talk to you guys. I want this conversation pretty much. So let me know in the comment section down below. And again, if you like this video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Goal is 5K. I'm sorry again for no face cam. I'm gonna get my setup ready, and then once the setup is ready, I can do like better videos for you guys. So sorry for that again. And with that, guys, Spanko signing out. Peace.
My hands steady, I feel ready, but my legs heavy. I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises, you ain't stopping this. Cross my shit.